Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. It is game on for the Kansas City Chiefs training camp. Everybody's here except for, that one guy that you guys want to talk about.
One guy.
We'll get to Chris Jones coming up today. Welcome back. This is RGR Football. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is where we talk Chiefs from every angle that we can come up with and some that you guys aren't prepared for. We're going to talk a little bit about your questions, go through what we know about training camp so far. So welcome. It's Sunday Night Live. This is what we do every post game all year long. Finally, we have some actual football to talk about. Dan, how you feeling?
Oh man. First of all, it's great to be back on with you after a 2-week hiatus from doing it together. So welcome back to that. And we get to come back on the first full day of training camp. How beautiful is this? I'm so excited. We got to see the camp videos popping up on Twitter. One of the highlights of the entire offseason, actually, one of the biggest highlights of the entire offseason is getting to see those clips pop back up on my stream so I can retweet them and only retweet the ones that line up with my prior opinions. So yes, I'll be doing a whole hell of a lot of that for everybody in case they're wondering.
Well, it's funny. We have a lot of predictions between the two of us, and we end up coming off pretty well. We'll make sure to reiterate for all you guys the ones that we got right. We'll try to ignore the ones that we got wrong until you bring them up. So, we'll go through all the concepts today. Patrick Mahomes went out to practice today, was received like what I think is the earliest I've ever heard the MVP chant going out to practice on day one of camp. You get the MVP logo and all the gear at the RGR store. The link's in the description here. I encourage you to check it out because stuff's going pretty fast. It's been a great uptake. I appreciate all the support here, helping the channel out. That always does help the channel. So does any super chats. You will definitely get an answer to your comment or question tonight. Tomorrow night's the full Q&A, though, where we just go with we give you a 5-minute run on what is the topic of the day, and then we answer all your questions. It's your show tomorrow night, so be back here. I will get into what I think was the clips of the day here in a second. We'll start there because I think it says a bit about what's been different for me from day one of camp the last few years. Defense showed up. Mm-hmm. It's not all, Patrick making bombs and doing all that. We had a couple of guys miss practice that I think we do need to talk about. But I want to get your take first, Dan, on this clip from Reed. And I thought it was pretty telling.
Start with the second-year players. Start with my partner in crime, Brian Cook. I mean, the guy is a baller, very cerebral player. Probably the loudest communicator on the defense out of the DBs. And, you love to have that, a vocal guy who's confident in the back end. I mean, all the young guys, Trent McDuffie, Jalen, Jay Will, Nazi Johnson, all doing an amazing job. The young guys coming in, Isaiah, Echo. You guys, they have their ears wide open. They're humble. They're willing to learn. Spag's system is not easy, but they're willing to put in the work. And we have good veterans in the room that's willing to lead them along and teach them.
I think that's really what it comes back to me, that normally we hear this 2-3 weeks in, like, oh, we're all getting Spag's system. It's working now. To be off the grind right on day one is something that I find encouraging to me, let alone that you tell me. I think Reed looks noticeably thicker here. The report from camp is that he's just as explosive, but he's gained 15 pounds. I like that concept, especially if he feels as though he's as explosive. That's my only concern is, can you cover the same amount of ground? What's your impression of A, what he had to say, and B, how he appears?
Yeah, I love getting to hear that. Obviously, we always know, at least the last couple of years with turnover, the defense has taken some time to get on the field and kind of be in the right spot and knowing exactly wherever they're going to be. But so this season, hopefully that takes a little bit of a downturn and they have maybe a little less of a ramp up, and they're just kind of knowing, because they're going to have nearly the exact same group out there. But you also bring in Drew Tranquil, who's a guy who's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's going to pick up the defense relatively quickly. And all things considered, I think this is a fantastic season so far, for what they're going to be doing. And Justin Reed coming in as, impactful as I think he possibly can be, playing some of the best football down the stretch there. Is going to be really important for him to continue his trajectory this season, and gaining that weight, I think, will be pretty important for him, probably because they're going to ask him to play a little bit more against the run. That's a pretty important aspect too when you have 2 safeties, 3 safeties on the field a lot, you're going to ask one of them to probably play more in the run. And I think Reed is getting prepared to be asked to be played more down in that role, maybe even a little more in the slot where he can come down and be impactful in the run game, which you're going to, like I said, you're going to need a little bit more of that weight to be able to do. So I'm pretty happy with that myself.
I am as well. And it's a direct flip of what we saw Brian Cook do last year, where he was the guy down in the box quite often. Very encouraging for me to hear Justin talking him up so early, because interoperability, interchangeability is really the key. And if you have 2 guys that can do both, I think armoring up makes a lot of sense. I hope that Avery agrees. She can't hear me, but she always looks the part. So, folks, now that the star is here, you can ask your questions for Avery, and we'll answer one of them. Let's see. To the questions, Cody, I must have missed something because I don't think I've seen an email from you in a while, bud. But I will go back, double check the old junk drawer and all that stuff and see if it got waylaid in there. Steve was asking, how was the vacation day?
Oh man, it was a nice vacation up until the last day. I mean, the vacation itself was fantastic. We went around the outskirts of the Ozarks in some getaway camps, where they're just these like upscale glamp, cabins, things like that. They're small, nice double-decker beds for us to sleep in. But I got eaten alive. I don't know what it was. I had bites all over my legs, and they still have not gone away. This is Sunday, and I got those on Thursday. So I'm just trying to make it through that. But other than that, it was a good, nice to get away, mostly unplug and just relax, just to enjoy nature and do whatever we wanted to. Yeah, I actually cooked a cake in oranges. Like I scooped out oranges and I put cake batter in the oranges, put them in a cast iron, and cooked them over the fire. That was an experience, and that was fun. So we were able to
How'd
do
they
that.
turn out?
It turned out pretty good, actually. I cooked it. They cooked well. They rose. They weren't overcooked. They were actually really good. I was surprised.
Man, okay, I'm gonna have to steal that idea. That sounds good. we were up in the wilderness in southern Wyoming, up at a reservoir up there. Had a nice week to ourselves. No cells, not much going on. So appreciate you guys and your patience and being back here tonight. Hope you're enjoying Sunday night. Again, Q&A is tomorrow, and we're going through a few of your questions tonight as we talk about the fact Chris Jones isn't in camp. But Thundarius has some news. He's on his way up to Mayo Clinic. I hope that it goes great for you, Thundarius.
Yes.
I have personal experience. My mom was treated there. A good friend of mine's been treated there for a brain condition. You are in literally some of the best hands in the world in going to Mayo. So good luck, and I'm sure it's going to be great.
Good luck, man.
We will be pulling for you, pal. James, good football evening. I'm concerned about the wide receiver group. How do you think they're going to do at wide receiver? And I understand a lot of folks are having that reaction today when it's day one and Tony can't get out there. He did go out, so it's not like a significant injury, just tweaked his knee during warmups itself. Generally, that's not going to cause me much heartburn, right? But it's Kadarius Toney, and we all got that little splinter in the back of our mind, right? So,
yeah.
How concerned are you, despite the offseason that he's been a full go the entire time, including down in Dallas with Mahomes? Does it give you pause?
It always gives you a little bit. The guy who's got consistent injuries popping up here, there, tweaks here and there throughout the season. That's what happened in the postseason. He tweaked his knee, or he tweaked his hamstring, or he tweaked this. That's just kind of what it is. He never suffers anything serious. It's just, you tweaked this. You're going to miss some game here. You're going to miss some time there. And that's unfortunately not what you want from the guy who they're outwardly saying is going to be their wide receiver 1 this year. They have said it from the get-go. From the moment the season kind of ended, that Kadarius is supposed to be that guy. So that's concerning to an extent. Who's going to be supposed to be the most impactful player, the most talented wide receiver you have, and now you're worried that he's not going to be able to be healthy for the full season. But I think the majority of my pause is relaxed when I look at the guys behind him. I think that they have a really good, solid group behind him. I don't necessarily think that if you look at the 4 wide receivers without Kadarius Toney, MBS, Richie James, Skyy Moore, and then Rashee Rice, who I imagine will be there as well. Then you have Justin Watson, whom we expect to make the roster at this point as well. Those are it's a good group. It's still a versatile group. They
Mm-hmm.
bring a lot of different things to it. You still have Travis Kelce. So in terms of my own pause with the receiver group, and to address the original pause with the receiver group, I think that it's more of just kind of wait and see. It's still July. We haven't seen anything yet with pads. We'll get there. I still am pretty confident in the group itself. I still think it's very, very talented.
I agree with you, and it's well-rounded. It's got a number of aspects. And Scuba, thank you. I appreciate your support, buddy. Folks, if you want to support the channel, the Super Chats are the easiest way to do it. Just throw it at us, leave a comment or a question. We'll make sure that we address it for you. And yeah, great. Just great, right?
Great.
It's difficult.
Fantastic.
But this goes back, and two aspects of this. This is why there's so many wide receivers on the roster. This is why I've been talking about possibly keeping 7. So you have like just numbers to throw at the position. But it also leads to what I think was a bit of a miscalculation. I would have liked to seen D-Hop be on the menu. It doesn't necessarily mean that you got to buy the meal, but I would like them to be in negotiations at this point. Clearly, I feel that it got down to what I thought was the magic hour with Chris Jones. A couple of days before he reported, that's when the news came out about D-Hop, right? So I think they had to let him know, hey, we're not in position to give you a contract at this point because we got to finish Chris first. And that's when he goes to Tennessee. That was the first inkling for me that what I expected to happen was not coming to fruition. And that brings us to our main topic tonight. Chris Jones is not in camp. What does that mean? What's it going to mean? And for me, I'm a little bit surprised at the way that it's gone down because it's really not that hard a calculation. You have Aaron Donald that he said he wanted to be number 2 behind, right? So he wants to be, he's okay being number 2. Okay, great. That still can be up to a lot of money, right? Yeah. But now Quentin Williams raises the floor. So that gives you a band. That's where that per annum needs to be. It's not that hard. And I'm surprised that the Chiefs were prepared for that to a point that they could have worked it out. Like I thought 2 nights ago was when last night is where I expected him to be in and be ready. Didn't happen. For me, I'm worried that it's a little bit more about the structure than it is the APY, because APY can be manipulated in a number of different ways. So it's having both of them in a place where they want to exert some influence. And Chris is getting fined $50,000 a day now. So, I mean, Chris, if you want to throw your money away, just come into camp, buy me a truck if you want to throw your money away. I'd love that. But like, this is a little bit more than I expected. And I don't know how long it's going to go on. I think the boiling point is about 10 days. If they can't get to 10 days, that puts the impetus back on Chris because he's talking about losing $750,000 at that point. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, going to be the magic tipping point for me. But how do you feel about where they are and what do you think's going on?
I'm still not very worried about it. Look at the Chiefs' defensive tackle room. Tell me they can reasonably not extend Chris Jones. Tell me that. They can't not do it. They don't have a choice. There's nobody on the defensive end side that affects the pass rush the way he does. They can't manufacture that. They cannot draft that. Draft season is over. They can't trade for somebody that's going to do that. All those guys that were possible trade targets have been extended. They have been extended. It's over. Okay. This is going to get done. I have no doubt about it personally. That's the same thing I would have told you about Tyreek Hill before he was traded. I'm not trying to say it's going to happen. I'm just saying I was adamant that was going to happen. They offered him the money. He wanted more. So for me, it's down. I think it's got to be the guaranteed amount.
That's my thought too.
There has to be. There's the tweet from Adam Schefter was agent posturing. By the way, they are not far apart. They have like Ryan said. There's a band. You know exactly where the money's going to be. There is no we're far apart. Like, it really isn't. This is just them trying to speed the process along because they want to get Chris Jones in camp. They want to get him his money. So all of that comes to just me kind of being, if this is, like you said, 2 weeks from now, and we are still talking about it, I will start to get worried. Yes, I will start to get worried. But until that time, I'm pretty comfortable still.
I'm glad you bring up the agent angle. And let's be honest. For guys like Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, 75%, 80% of what they report is from agents. The rest is contacts inside organizations. But there is a lot of mouthpiece going on for the agent side in our major media. So take it all with a grain of salt. It will get done. There's no way, like you said, there's just no plausible way that you can go through. And for Chris to lose that much money, I mean, we're talking that goes on. It goes on and on and on. So you're talking about if he let this go into the regular season, he's already going to be down multiple $1 million.
Yeah.
That's just not something that somebody in his position wants to do. I really do think, I don't think it's an animosity thing. I do think it is like some kind of rigmarole, either guarantee or structure or a combination thereof that they're going to be able to get past. So
I'm with you.
That said, Wise got the first team reps in his place. I was happy to see that. I'm always happy for a KU guy to get some reps. I don't even have Wise on the 53 man as of right now.
Yeah.
So that was eye-opening. And for those of you that are saying, Ryan, you've been pumping up Kendrick this whole time. And Coburn should be number 2. I know he looks like he should be a Derek Nottie backup and he should only be a 1 technique. That's just not the case. He's a good pass rusher from 3 tech. Yes, he's got to make that leap to the pro level. Kendrick Coburn can play the 3. It's not going to be an issue. So I found that a little bit interesting. I'd like to see him get some of those reps, but it's day 1. It's nothing to get furious about. But Chris honestly just makes such a massive hole that you have the ability right now to give some of the young guys like Wise, like Coburn, some opportunity, see what comes from it. A lot of smoke this afternoon about Danny Shelton being in a whole lot better shape. So kudos to him. What an idea, right?
That's surprising. I mean, that's not all that surprising, honestly. You looked at him last year, and the one thing, as soon as we saw him, guys, I was like, that he can't play in shape. He just can't.
Yeah.
You can't jump in a team that far into the season playing out of shape like that. It was never going to work. So apparently Joe Cullen had some conversations over the offseason and said, look, you want to be on this roster, you want to be able to play, you gotta be in shape, my guy. You gotta be in shape. So that's very good to see from him. Dedication is difficult. It's going to be tough for him to make the roster, especially because I expect Tershawn Wharton to eventually be activated from the PUP list and make some noise as that backup 3 tech. And that's why I think Wise was getting those reps, is because right now, install, they're not just going to throw Kendrick Coburn as 3 tech. He's got to learn the place he's probably going to play most as a rookie. He's got to learn that first before they start throwing him at 3 tech. So that's why you saw Wise probably out there. And I still think that, Wharton's going to get most of those snaps this year. Maybe he gets extended after this year, but it's hard to, with a guy who's been so injury prone as he has, just kind of extending him. So maybe you see Coburn look to Wharton and Jones this season to kind of learn the 3 tech, and maybe he slides into that 1 3 tech position next year.
Well, it also tells me this, that it could be a week, it could be 2 months before they're able to take Turk off the PUP. So if he's not able, he has to be on the 53-man roster. He can't go to injured reserve until the next day. So we'd have to make it.
Yeah.
It tells me that the next guy that you have to try to get to the practice squad and bring back would be Daniel Wise if camp was ending today. So good for him. Puts himself in position. I think Danny's back there. I think he'll be a practice squad guy that they can call up. I had hoped that he would get in shape last season, but it looks like it's trending that way. So good for Joe Cullen. Kev brings up the hot take that Skyy Moore is actually the number 1 receiver. Rice and Richie are going to fill big roles. And for those of you, I can hear you right now. There's about 3 people of our 26,000 subs, and I appreciate every last one of you, even the ones who want to call us out about talking up Richie James. Now you know why we've been talking up Richie James, because KT goes out and he's the first guy to step in. That doesn't mean he's going to be the 4. It just means that we do see the potential for that, and it looks like that's still on track. A lot of time to come. But would you buy, if Kadarius is unable to go, that Skyy Moore could fulfill wide receiver 1 role, meaning 6 to 10 targets per game and the production that should go along with that?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind, because of the way they operated his rookie season. They wanted him to get the full load. They said, look, you're learning everything. And they were very open about that this offseason. They said they threw everything at him, and they don't usually do that with rookies. That tells you what they think about what he can possibly do in this offense. And the fact that they want him to line up at X and Y and slot, they call it zebra. That's cool. I like that call. That's like one of my favorite things. And that's why when I did the Skyy Moore year in review, I specifically showed you plays with him lining up X
everywhere.
Everywhere, everything that he did, because it was a very obvious point that they wanted to make, and you're already seeing that payoff. He was with, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes in Texas this offseason, getting all that work. He's better. He's thicker. Like, he's not going to lose any of that speed.
Right. And let's be real. MVS can have a better season. He can play a bigger role. Yeah. He can't be the one, in my opinion. He's not a Z, and he's not going to line up at the zebra and do a whole lot that can really push the boundaries of what they do out of that position or those positions. Because I do hope that we see multiple slots and that we see some 4 wideout packages that are a little bit more balanced. I'm all for the 3x1. It is a staple for this offense. I want to see them expand on that, and along with the 13 personnel, get some dual packages. I want to see double stacks, and I think that's going to help a number of guys. The question for me becomes, if Skyy has to be the one, can everybody else fill in and fill out a role? And what Kevin's getting at here, if he has to play a role that's that central on offense, shouldn't be returning punts. And I understand where you're coming from, Kevin. I would be concerned about that as well. But I will say this. You want to take a look at everybody in camp right now. Skyy did make some progress in that category late in the season. So if you had to, I think you could live with it. You also got to admit, they put Justin Ross out there today to do that. Take some kicks and see what you can do. Give everybody a chance to show what they're capable of. I think that's great for Justin because it raises the floor for him in terms of making him not cuttable if you can do multiple things. Now, Raz pointed out, he did get some first-team reps as well. And that's nice to see that sprinkled in. It doesn't mean he has to be a staple. I don't think there's any way he could become a starter in this season just because it's so far to go and there's enough guys with experience stacked in front of you. But he could easily be a guy that comes in and is the X replacement for MVS. If he can get to that point and we see him carry first-team reps here through the next 2 weeks, I think they're well on the road to that. The question's going to be the same thing it's always been. Can he stay healthy? Because even if we get 2 weeks of him getting, backup, but first-team reps, he's one step away from crumbling again. That's what we have to guard ourselves against.
Yeah, I think it shows you pretty much where he's at. He's at the 7 right now. I think in terms of the order of the wide receivers, he's the 7, and he's got those bumps up like everybody else did when Kadarius Toney wasn't on the field, which is good for him. It's going to matter about how many you keep. And, we were back and forth on that, and I have come back around on my original assumption that 7 was going to be it. I think it's going back to 6. I'm back at 6 wide receivers. So you're talking about having to push off Justin Watson. Like, I don't see anybody in front of Watson not making this roster. I'll be very honest with you. I don't think any of those guys aren't making it. So you have to kind of think that he's got to be able to outplay what Watson brings and does, and special teams, speed down the field are not necessarily his strengths. That's just something that he's going to have to outplay and outproduce to say we can avoid not having to worry about Watson's special teams reps, the speed that he brings, or forego one of the other positions to keep 7 wide receivers. You have to make these coaches keep you. You have to force them to do that. That's the decision with 7 and 6 receivers. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, I'm with you. Make them make a decision. Make them be too scared to let you go.
Yep, exactly.
Miss Barbara, welcome in. Glad you made it. Nice to see you. PK, thank you for your super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. Is Toney the new Sammy Watkins? And who's our best edge? Well, you said DE, and I do want to make that distinction. Calling him Sammy 2.0 is not far from the truth, bro. I'm just saying.
Unfortunately, it's not. Like, he's been here not even a year. He's been in Kansas City not even a year, and he's got 4 injuries already. 4 separate injuries is something like that. We'll see.
I was really encouraged. I was really encouraged all offseason because he went through all this, including going to Texas, and didn't have anything happen. It was all good. So I said this on Locked On Chiefs, and I do believe this. It is his first training camp with the Chiefs. Remember, he was acquired after the season began last year. So he's never been to St. Joe. He's never practiced in the Missouri heat. And honestly, sleeping in the dorm for the first night and all that stuff, it could just be a bad hydration situation. That's going to be key for Kadarius throughout his career. could just be a temporary thing. So I'm not going to be too concerned about it. We might not see a blip the rest of training camp. So it's just something to keep an eye on, I think.
Yeah, we could literally be worked up about nothing. We could just be worked up about absolutely nothing. He could get out there tomorrow practice, and everyone's like, "Oh, no big deal."
Yeah, you could come home super easy. So,
Yeah.
PK, appreciate you.
Yeah,
I'm going to hold off on giving him that moniker, but we know where it's going if we see that. So, thank you, Longmorn. I'm glad to see that you smoked the pork belly, got it cubed
there
up.
you go.
Casey Masterpiece has a base sauce. I like that. And hey, pork burn ends, you can't really go wrong. So, cheers. Thanks for sharing that with us. We appreciate you, Gary. Who has more receiving yards this year? Moore or Rice? I'm squarely on Moore.
Yeah, it's not really a question for me. Skyy Moore, I think, is going to push for the most receiving yards at wide receiver this year.
Yeah.
You guys know that I feel pretty confident that MVS can get to 1,000 yards. Again, that's going to come with the targets. If he gets the targets, then I think he can get there. If we're not seeing the targets go there, I know that those targets are going to Skyy Moore. And that means he's going to be closer to those, to that type of season.
And again, for me, it all waterfalls off of, is Kadarius Toney available?
Yeah.
Does he play? For me, the threshold's 14 games. If he plays 14 games plus, all right, then he should be the yardage leader. If he doesn't, then that becomes a wide open thing. And now that we've seen everything go down with D-Hop would have been a wrench in all the plans for all the receivers. But at this point, I do think that Rice is going to play a role. I just don't think it's going to be as big a role as Moore. Again, knock on wood, as long as everybody stays healthy, that's kind of the way it looks right now. We'll find out. Thanks, Gary. And Scott, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. No, I just don't think they have to extend Jones. If they let him play this year and tag him next year at a discount, he'll be 32 at that point. That's very true. If they can't get to a number, the tag's always there.
And Chris Jones will be 30 next year. I think he'll be 31, right? Because he hasn't turned 30 yet. He's still 29.
Okay.
If I know correctly, because I was just doing my Chris Jones stuff. So
I was gonna say I'm double checking right now. Yes, he is currently 29. I don't have a birth date on him though. I wanted to say he was a fall baby, but I could be wrong.
I think he turns 30 during the season, if not before. So he'll be turning 31 going into next season. So I think that it would be a fool's errand for me to think he's not currently in his prime. He played the most snaps of his entire career last season. That also is why you really can't afford to not have him on the roster.
Right.
Snap-wise, you don't have anybody to replace him, and he is in his prime. Joe Cullen, the combination for him and Joe Cullen, they have gotten more out of him than any duo before, even when he had his blow-up season previous. And what they're doing with the defensive line in front of him, moving defensive ends around, playing them on guards and centers, they are getting more one-on-ones for Chris Jones. Now, you want to maximize that in Kansas City, in my opinion. So I understand that you want to play the age point. I just think right now is literally his prime.
Yeah, and I think because of the way that he's gone about it, I think his prime can extend. He can be the rare defensive tackle that can play till 34. But for Chris as well, he wants to get this done. He doesn't want to be too stubborn because the prospect of going to another team with another system that doesn't know him as well, outside of Spags and Cullen, is a little bit scary because this is your last hurrah. You have the next, I think, 3 seasons to be your prime, and then you're going to fall off. Not a table, but you're going to fall off. Aaron Donald's seeing it right now. You're going to have something happen at that age, at that position. It's almost irrevocable. There's no way to avoid it. So make the most of what you can get right now. My hope is that he sees that light and he can say, all right, I'll take the APY in the slot where it belongs, but I want some incentives. And if you continue to keep Chris Jones incentivized, you will see his best play of his career in the next 2 seasons, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So
those two sacks against Cincy are going to, in the postseason, are going to feed him. That's what he wants. That is what he wants. The money is also what he wants, but he also wants the success. He wants to play in Kansas City. He has made that obvious, so clear. He wants to be here. So I don't know. I think we all want to see him finish his career here. That's not. I mean, that's not rocket surgery, but I think we'll see it.
Yeah, I like the rocket surgery, by the way. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you. Where are you guys on Wanye? I'm pretty pumped for Wanye right now. The thing that took me back about him the most the other day was when he was asked about flipping back and forth. He's like, yeah, it's super, super easy for me. I played both sides. I can go back and forth. He's positioning himself and distinctifying him. Distinctifying? Is that even a word? He's making himself distinct from Lucas Niang in that he is set up to be the prototypical swing right now. They're practicing him at left. He and Felix are going at it. That's great. I'm glad they have a camaraderie. But just being able to do that. Now, he didn't perform as well at left at Oklahoma. Didn't play many snaps at left at Oklahoma. He played more at Tennessee, where he struggled a lot more. But he's a better player overall now, and you have to apply that progression to him playing on the left-hand side as well. I think Andy Heck is going to know how to make the most out of that. What we've seen with Trey Smith and had the same kind of thing where his feet were not his biggest strength coming out. We've seen that develop. I think Wanye's the same way. I think that Wanye has a calmness about him that makes me feel like he's on the road to his comfortable progression. And that is, in my opinion, to be the swing tackle this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I just want to, I think right now they're just taking everything step by step with injuries. They're not gonna push anything, especially day one of training camp for most of these guys. Rookies getting some work in before adjusting, hydration, like you're talking about. All that stuff is important to see how your body reacts. It's a different system. It's an entirely different regimen than they've never had to do it before. So all these little tweaks, these little pulls, things like that are probably pretty customary for rookies and the beginning of training camp because it's a brand new everything. They're almost relearning how to prep for a season. That's pretty much what it is, if we're being honest with ourselves. So they're going to take it easy. Obviously, it's just there's no contact right now. So I'm excited to see when he gets on the field. And that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But he is right now a backup 100% in my eyes. And I think that we got to see some Lucas Niang today, too. He looked pretty healthy in terms of what we've seen before. The first we've seen him since the season. So I'm pretty psyched about that, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's attrition. It's the same thing as the wide receiver group. You got to have the tackles that you can afford to have to rotate at times. And I think that's a plus. And Kevin, I understand that you're frustrated by the early injuries here. And I don't blame you. That's fine. Wanye didn't have the greatest combine. You're absolutely right. I think it's premature to even get close to calling him a bust. I think that's a long way off. And especially when you're not expecting him to start, I'm not concerned about it. If he has some growing pains here, getting into the rhythm of being a professional, I'm not concerned about that. I am concerned about seeing his foot speed. So the fact that he's made it all the way through OTAs, minicamp, and just this last rookie camp without an issue, he just had a little tweak of the hamstring on Friday. I'm not worried about that. What I will be worried about is if we see him come back in a few days and then it happens again. That means that you're not getting the rest and the restoration and the treatment that you need, or the treatment you're getting is not being as helpful as it should. Mm-hmm. If you guys watched Quarterback, and I'm only like halfway through that series, if you go back to the one where you see Kirk Cousins getting in the cold tub, that's a daily ritual for these guys. And the linemen don't dig it. So if there's somebody's going to skip, it's usually going to be the skinniest dude on the roster or the lineman that don't want to get in there in the first place. You have to redouble down on how you take care of your body. And I think especially for a guy who's been at 2 elite programs in college football, you have a tendency to feel like, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to be okay. No, you don't, because you haven't played at this level. Rick and the training staff will get him right. The only thing I'm concerned about if we see a recurrence. So give him a minute. Let's see how he does, Kevin.
That's what I games played. Let the games be played.
Yes. Des, thank you for your support. Appreciate it. 2 things. What should what Andy said about Chris Jones worry us in any possible that he wants Aaron Donald money, or at least in the 80 guaranteed range? If so, does it get done, basically? Sorry, Des, I think I kind of hammered that one, but I'm not worried about it. I think what he realized in Andy's, I think you read between the tea leaves there, they're telling you, hey, yeah, they still have some work to do. It's not imminent, right? but it's not far apart like the agents want to tell you either. And I think that guaranteed piece is probably the sticking point. If it's 80, and we're talking he should be in the range somewhere 26 to 28 is probably what he's looking for, right? That should be what Quinton came in at like 26ish,
24, right?
I thought it was it 24
or 25? So it wasn't that much more.
Okay, so 26 is the goal, right? If you get to that point and you're talking about a 4-year, that'd be guaranteeing 20 of each 26. That's a great number. And I'm sure that's probably about what he's pushing for. If they even got it to probably 74, 76, that's probably enough to get it done. I want to say Aaron's was what, 78 guaranteed?
I don't remember. I'll be honest. I really don't.
I don't either. I can look that up here in a minute, though. But
Des,
you have a good point. I'm not worried about it, and I think that range. I think it'll be a little lower, but I think that range is acceptable. Dan, I don't know how you feel, but I'd be pushing for that to be within the realm.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about it. You're trying to get around there. $65 million in guaranteed money.
65
is what he got. 65. And 46 and a half of it was guaranteed on signing. So that's probably what they're trying to shake out. What's going to get guaranteed? When is it going to get guaranteed? How are they going to build in any incentive structures, postseason accolades, things like that? I'm not too worried about Andy Reid's comments because I think he just kind of expected, like all of us, that it was going to get done before training camp, and he was just like more disappointed that it wasn't. I think he still expects Chris Jones to be there, them to get it ironed out. It was more of a like, damn, yeah, he's not here. Like I wanted him to be here. I think it kind of half expected him to be, and they just haven't gotten it done yet. So it is what it is at the end of the day. And like Andy Reid said, whoever's not here, we keep going. And that's the mentality they're going to have.
The train keeps rolling. What I wanted to point out here is this is Quinnen's contract. He came in at 47.8 in guarantees. So the high mark is still 65 at Aaron. So evidently I was wrong. I thought 74 might be where they have to go. It really just needs to get he probably wants the guarantee more than the APY. So you maybe need to get to 68, something like that.
Yeah.
If it needs to go to 80, Des, I doubt that they need to. So I do think that helps get it done at the end of the day. Knock on wood. Angry German, hello, good evening. Hope you guys are having fun. Welcome to Sunday Night Live, you guys. I know that it's not regular season, and we will have some non-Sunday games, but we'll be live post games. This is your home. Post game, we will be here on this channel like we are every year, over and over. You will find us at that time. Raz, hope you're doing good. Do we have any updates on how Donovan Smith is doing at left tackle and hopefully returns better form than before the injury? I agree with you on the hope. I did not see anything specific, and the folks that were at camp that I've spoken to didn't have pluses or minuses specifically to talk about Donovan.
Interesting.
Did you hear anything specific that maybe I missed?
I didn't hear anything. I saw a couple of like background clips of a play where his footwork looked better than I thought it did last year. But again, don't have pads on. It's not really contact. You're just trying to get things done and doing some conditioning drills, which is not out of the question. So it's just the first day one. Yeah. You're not going to really get many takeaways from those veterans that have been doing this a long time. He's got to get used to a new regimen too. I would imagine that the heat here is kind of the same as it is in Florida to an extent with the humidity. So he might not have to do a ton of differing in that regard, but it's a new system. Just day one. Let's see what happens with Donovan Smith. I think his footwork looked better from what I saw. So just kind of take it as it goes.
Okay, good. And I'll tell you this, I'm confident in a veteran of his age and his former performance to be able to recover a lot of that this season. So I agree with you, Raz. I am hopefully returns to that form. It feels like that's probably the direction that it's going, but you never know. Age is a funny thing. So we'll keep an eye on it. I wonder if we move on from Bell, who takes the quarterback sneak snaps. It feels like that's going to be Noah Gray to me.
He did it last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
When Blake Bell got hurt, it was Noah Gray doing it. So yeah, it'll be Noah.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to put Travis in that position. I don't think you want to put anybody else. They don't have a true fullback, as much as it makes me cry.
Could be Bushman.
It could be. Got to see if he makes the roster first.
Well, again, if they move on from Bell, Bushman, you would imagine Bushman takes his spot on the roster.
He's my next guy. So let's see if Andy agrees. Teddy, thanks for the support, pal. Appreciate your super chat. The only thing keeping Ross off of this roster is injury. In my eyes, he has the highest ceiling of any wide receiver on the team. I think the coaches think so too, because why else would they keep him and hype him up as much as they do? I think we have to draw a distinction between the coaching staff hyping him up, which I don't see that often, and the media team hyping him up. The coaches don't control what goes out on the Chiefs Twitter feed or on YouTube or any of that, right? But I do agree with you, Teddy. Like, I think Kadarius Toney and he are probably the highest ceiling guys on the roster right now. But the question is, he hasn't been right. He has not played a full season since the first time Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl. Now, I know it feels like that was just around the corner, but it wasn't. It was 2019. He has not been able to fully compete in a season in that time, and that's exactly what we have to be concerned about.
Is the ceiling even there with Justin Ross? Is his ceiling, is the way that everyone remembers him in college, is that even feasible anymore? The likelihood of him ever getting back to that is far less than many people want to think. The likelihood that he ever plays like that again, it's not just this. If he's healthy, that's what he's going to do. That's just not. It's not how injuries work. It's not how foot injuries work. That's not how spinal fusion injuries work. They don't just, you get it fixed and you're back to being the guy that you were. That's just not realistic. So I'm optimistic. I hope that he can outperform every expectation that you, Teddy, have, that everybody has. I'm not going to hold myself into any light that he's going to be not only to make the roster, but be an impactful player in his career. There is a reason that he did go undrafted. Okay. It's a real reason. And I know that we all want to just think it's injury, but if it's just injury related, he gets drafted. The Chiefs drafted Trey Smith with his stuff coming out. They cleared him and they did end up drafting him. So I wish that I could be there with you, Teddy. I'm glad you're there, because that's great. I love that people have that optimistic approach and have that way they feel about it. So I'm happy that you're there and a lot of other fans are with you. I can't do it myself.
That's fair. That is the wise, practiced approach. I will say this. I have seen some miraculous things, and that's why I leave the door open a little bit more, because normally I would say, yeah, that caps your possibilities. But
yeah, modern medicine is
there
crazy,
are
man.
people.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, there's hockey players that have recovered from that spinal fusion surgery and been better for it. So, like, that kind of pounding is a different kind of pounding. I fully admit that. It's not a one-to-one with hockey. But it's also probably the most, I think, applicable in terms of the physicality on a moment-to-moment basis. So I try to leave the door open for somebody who feels it. And we don't hear from Justin Ross. We don't know. Like, is this in his soul? Is this what he has to do with his life? Yeah. Is it that kind of story? I just don't know. So
I'd love to get him
I got my fingers
on the mic. I'd love to let them get him up there on the mic so we could hear him. We have not heard a peep. We haven't heard him at all as he's been in Kansas City. Not once. I'd like to hear him.
And his agent has not responded to me. And if you're out here seeing that, I know that you've gotten my emails. I would like to talk to Justin. Our fans would like to hear from Justin on this show. So I know you guys keep tabs. If you are hearing me, I know it's 43 minutes in. I probably should have said this at the top of the show. I'll clip this. If you would like to get the story out on Justin, I would love to talk to him. I'll put him on Locked On too. I'll put him nationwide. How you like that? Let's go. All right. Teddy, thank you for your support, brother. I appreciate you. Jake, thank you as well. Very much appreciated. Is trading CJ the best move now? No. Dan, you can expound on that. I'm just going to say, no. Okay. Would Casey get a Tyreek level haul for him? I would hate to see it, but I hated to see Hill go, and look what happened. Let me speak to the trade level. You're not getting anything close to what you got for Tyreek Hill. Will you get multiple picks? Yes. Will you get multiple ones? No. Defensive tackle, even though it's Chris Jones, is not going to draw that, in my opinion. I don't think anybody's going to give that up. But is it the best move, Dan?
I want you guys to hear me real quick.
I'm going to dip out for a minute. See ya.
You kicked me.
I did the wrong one.
Here kicking me out. No. Chris Jones moving him's not the right move. there is this idea that, yes, the Chiefs were able to succeed without Tyreek Hill. That's because they have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Chris Jones is the Patrick Mahomes of the defense. Guess what? You take Chris Jones away, where is everybody else winning? Where is the guy on the defensive line that wins? Maybe you draft somebody in the first round. Okay, he doesn't work out. All right, now where's your pass rush coming from? Where's the guy that defenses or offensive lines have to account for? They have to know where he is. And even when they know where he is, it doesn't matter because he still wins. He beats double teams at a rate of where Aaron Donald does. Like, that's what he does. He beats double teams at that high clip. I'm not trying to yell at you, Jake. This is just a lot of stuff coming out from a lot of things that I've seen on Twitter. So I apologize that it's kind of directed at your question, but it's not at you. It's this defense almost cannot function without Chris Jones. Chris Jones makes the defense behind him better because he forces the ball out quickly, and he makes Josh Williams, Jalen Watson better. They're good, solid players. They would not have been as good last year had Chris Jones not been on the team, had not been getting 15 and a half sacks, had not been tallying up those pressures. So like I said, I mean this. He is the Patrick Mahomes of the defense. You can lose Frank Clark, you can lose Carlos Dunlap, but when you keep, yes, I know they're not the same as Tyreek Hill. I understand that.
Right.
But he's the guy you make everything else work around because he's what brings it home. That's just what it is.
And let's be real, you're not getting player compensation this time of year. You're getting draft picks. You're not getting anybody that can come in and draw those doubles. And here's the bottom line. He's like, for those of you that are Snowpiercer fans, he's the eternal engine up front. He is driving this train. There is no way to make it run the same way. Even though Charles Omenihu is a good inside pass rusher as well, the thought would be, okay, you pull Charles in, you've let him in. But that comes back to an earlier question that I just realized. I'm sorry, we didn't fully answer your question before. I can't remember who asked it. But they asked, who's the best defensive end on this roster?
Oh, yeah, I apologize. We just completely overshot that one. Sorry.
Yeah, we got sidetracked. But who is the best defensive end on this roster? For me, it's a toss-up. Because both the guys that I think are the best at playing defensive end now are really just as good at playing defensive tackle, and that's Omenihu and George Karlaftis. They don't have an edge bender, true like outside edge, dip around the left tackle's outer shoulder and go crush a quarterback. They don't have that guy. Could Felix become that possibly? Maybe, but he ain't there yet.
No.
So, by my money, the best defensive end right now is Karlaftis.
It's actually Chris Jones.
Well,
Chris Jones is the best defensive end you have on the roster.
You just had to go and do that, didn't you?
it's crazy, isn't it? Because when you think about it, you're like, oh, yeah, he actually is. So he plays defensive end. They kick him out to defensive end. They did it much less last year. Thank you for that. But you found them doing that in key moments. The sack to close out the AFC Championship game, he was at defensive end, baby. Like key moments, Agreed. They know what to do with him. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy who does it all. And you are not going to be able to draft somebody that replaces him, no matter how many things you throw at the wall. You're not going to get that. It's the likelihood of you landing that is just so unlikely. He was a second-round pick. Let's not forget, he was not a first-round draft pick. He wasn't.
Fair enough.
Things don't work out that way all the time.
No, and that's, I think, what we see, and I think that's one thing that we do take for granted as a fan base, is just how good this group is with second-round picks. When you had to give up the stuff for Mahomes, when you had to give up the stuff for Orlando, like having those first-rounders is it's crazy. And Chris, I don't believe trading him is the best move either. I don't think it will happen either. That's just me. But this is where I'm at. The other thing that I want to mention, because I have a nice clip that I do want to play you guys, and that is. It's the middle level. We saw Leo Chanel in the base defense today, playing in that 4-3. Doesn't mean he's going to play there all the time, but the guy who had to get the biggest wake-up call from Drew Tranquill's arrival was this dude. And I do want to play it because this is a move. That's a move on a wide receiver. And when you're wearing the mushroom hat, it just slows you down a little bit more, I think. So, like, kudos to Willie Gay. I know, right?
They hate him so much.
I know. They do build neck strength, though, and I will give them credit for that. I think that's kind of important because this should be an easy completion to a wide receiver that you've been working with all offseason, but Willie's in position. And I think that's a direct correlation to what we saw in signing Drue Tranquill. And that's the kind of push sometimes that experienced players need to take the next step. And I think having those linebackers helps what you have at defensive end. To tie that all back to the previous question, it is a defensive front. It is a between a 6 and a 7 man front most plays. They all got to work together.
Guys, we saw it today. Leo Chanel was playing defensive end, baby. Let's go. My dream is coming true. They're playing him a little bit of defensive end. That's what I want to see. You need to get him on the field. He was a 3rd-round draft pick. Sorry, guys. Sam linebackers as a 3rd-round draft pick is a waste. Get him in there at defensive end. Let him rush the passer. Because when you can do that, that's going to free up Tranquill and Willie Gay because he's a really good downhill player. You could even move him around. You could put him in an A-gap as a linebacker, kind of pseudo linebacker, blitzing like you did with Nick Bolton, but he's like a defensive end. You could do so many different things with him as long as it's downhill at the quarterback. Let him do that. Just let him do it. I don't care what else you got to do. He's got some good hands. So I know I just kind of hijacked that and talked about Leo Chanel. But the fact of the matter is that the linebacker room has to step up. However you're going to get that out of them, it comes down to them being able to be put in the position to succeed. I don't think that Leo Chanel is going to be out there a ton as a Sam linebacker. I really just don't see that. Granted, maybe they use more 5-down linemen like Brian's been asking for. In today's defense, against today's offenses, it'd be nice to have a little bit of that 1-2 punch because he does offer that overhang ability to play as an outside linebacker. That's all I'm saying. So it'd be a lot of fun to see that on the field. I won't lie.
For those of you that have been with us in this channel for a very long time, probably my favorite guys are the linebackers that don't play enough. Reggie Ragland, now Leo. Like the overhang is a beautiful thing. You got to use it. It is what it is. Rifleman, am I expecting too much from Coburn as he is a rookie? It depends what you're expecting, Rifleman. If you're expecting him to lead in the tackles for loss or sacks, yes, you're expecting too much. But no, he has a very good fit here. And I think of the guys, my takeaways on film from him were inconsistent get off, didn't always play to the finish of a play, but he has explosive skills. And for a man his size, he's as explosive as Dontari Poe was. That's in my notes from my film of Valid, Texas. Joe Cullen only makes all that better. And if you can lift that consistency bar, I think he could be very good. Maybe not necessarily as a rookie because I don't know how much time he's going to get yet. The next 4 weeks are going to be key to seeing how much we see Kendrick Coburn.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm hopeful. Like that's for expectations on rookies, on 6th round rookies. Okay, that's remember he is still a 6th round draft pick. You can't always expect a ton. I think this defense can lift expectations. What they've been able to do with 6th round draft picks, with a day 3 guys anywhere, undrafted guys, I think that they can elevate some expectations. So having modest expectations is good. Having overarching expectations as a rookie is probably where I'll draw the line. But I'm pretty excited about what Kendrick Coburn's ability in this defense can look like going forward. Personally,
I'm hopeful. I was big on his partner in crime, Moro Jomo, who is a really raw. He was like the Tano Passanio of Texas, right? Because he was so raw to the game, didn't start till high school, that kind of thing. Coburn was the guy who brought him along. And Coburn obviously is a different body type. He's not that long, explosive type guy, but he's got quick feet. He's more akin to Colin Saunders than he is to Derek.
Agreed.
And I'll leave it at that. Dez, thank you for the support again, buddy. Mahomes looks like he's in midseason form already. And that's what I really like. The defense showed up early on day 1. Mahomes was dropping dimes. He's like, if you guys remember, like one of my first videos was during training camp 5 years ago. Good Lord, how long have we been doing this? But it was literally Mahomes comes out dropping bombs. And like, I'm going to remake that video because the same thing's true. he's just more surgical in his precision. It's not deep over the tops anymore. It's putting the ball where it needs to be. Like that play that Willie made, it's because he put it perfectly where Skyy Moore needed it, and Willie just happened to know where that was going.
Yeah.
So I agree with you completely, Des. I feel like he's looking really good so far.
Patrick is out for blood. He's always out for blood. I love it. He just won a Super Bowl, won MVP of the league, won MVP of the Super Bowl. He comes in training camp. He could just lay back and say, I got this. Nope. It's never enough. It's never enough. They are always eye on the prize. They actually do reset every single year, every offseason. They reset. They have no Super Bowl wins. They have no MVPs. They have no we're the best team in the NFL. We are out to prove. They're out to prove every single year they belong at the top. That's why this team. That's why Patrick Mahomes and this team can win Super Bowls like Tom Brady had won Super Bowls. It doesn't matter. This could he's doing it right now. This could be the LeBron James thing, but except he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't talk about it. He shows it. That was the big difference between that team. Like they could have possibly done that in Miami with the Heat when they did that, is they were all talking about it. Patrick shows up every day. It's work time. And they just get to work. They're never talking about it. They are always just, we're in. I love it.
And if you guys haven't watched the Netflix series, The Quarterback, go back and watch it because as it goes on, it's becoming more the Mahomes show. But it gives you insight to the way Andy works, to the way Travis works, how they build the offense. I think the most, like I said, I'm only halfway through it. But the thing that really stood out to me is just how different when you look at the methodical preparation of the other two teams and the quarterbacks that are here. And let's be real, they were selected on purpose. There's an elite quarterback, there's a mid-tier quarterback, and there's a low-end quarterback. But the difference in what the team does to allow Patrick to be Patrick, to let the players create plays, that kind of thing, I think that sets this show is showing as much about Patrick as is about the organization. And about the forward-thinking and the free-flowing nature of ideas in this organization from Andy, from Nagy. I know I get a lot of comments about, hey, you're way too high on what Nagy's going to bring. You're going to see some funk this year. I'm just going to tell you. That funk is from Matt Nagy. When it happens, you'll know. You'll know it when you see it. Dylan, you made it to a live. I'm happy for you, buddy. I'm glad you're here. Love you guys, and we're glad you're here, pal. Thanks for the great vid, and Ryan, cheers to you. Wishing I was in Denver drinking some mutual friend or Bierstadt. Bierstadt's got a nice Helles. If you haven't had that, make sure you get it. But yes, for everybody who comes to town sometimes, and I know there's a bunch of Colorado Chiefs fans, we do need to get together. I'm going to try to get to Don's this season. I don't know what my travel schedule is going to be because of my day job changing things up on me, but we are going to work on that. So yes, let's have a beer. It goes well with football, I got to tell you. So, Christopher, let's go. Love you guys and your content. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you for the support.
Thank you, Christopher.
You've been great over the years. Let's see. KL, could we get a possible breakdown of the Ross condition and surgery from what you know? I think there's a lot of people who don't understand what they hear about the spinal fusion. Okay. I'm happy to give you a breakdown, but that said, his medical data is his. I've never seen his chart. I don't know his specific. I don't even know what vertebrae were fused, but I can give you the basics of what it does. And I can, most importantly, point you to some actual physicians here on the YouTube platform, but also Mayo Clinic, WebMD. Like there are some tie-ins with the Cleveland Clinic and a lot of the most proprioceptive, orthopedic-oriented spinal surgeons in the country all do kind of presentations on this, and I'm happy to share that. So, Kale, thanks for the idea. I will try to work on that here during training camp. I hope to get it done beforehand. We'll see how Ross does. Last call here for super chats and everything. Brent agrees. He doesn't think that Nagy's going to have an impact. When it happens, remember I told you. That's all I'm saying. And I love this one. Brian, this is great.
Yeah.
We got to call him Mini Fridge. I love that.
I like that.
The only thing that would be better is Mini Fridge playing on a 46 front. So, Cullen, can we make this happen? I want guard, center, guard. Let's go.
A couple times. Just a couple
Let's
times.
go. Yeah. Just
don't need it a lot.
It's just seasoning. It's perfectly fine.
That's it.
Oh, all right. That's it for the questions tonight. Thank you guys for being here. Remember, your show is tomorrow night. You're the producers. We're just doing the on-air thing. So we'll see you tomorrow night, same time, 7 p.m. for all your Q&As. Dan, any parting thoughts or anything we didn't cover?
It's here, y'all. It's here. We got it today. Like this is real stuff happening. Just remember, I'm gonna be tweeting out a lot of things that are my priors. You guys want all my priors?
All
They'll be
your
on my Twitter
priors.
page. I'm just gonna be throwing them out all the time. So it'll be here. And don't forget, you guys talking about Richie James. My video from last month talked about why I think he could be the wide receiver 4. And this is why you're gonna see it in training camp. If you want to see why I thought from last year, go and check out that video and we'll talk. It'll be a lot of fun.
I'll start tweeting the film rooms out again. In fact, I'll start tweeting out the playlist if y'all need that. You can find them here on the channel. They're underneath the top column over there a little bit. But last thing, somebody asked that I think I inadvertently clicked it off. I think it was Gary, but I'm not sure about who are the contracts that are coming up next year. Let me share this real quick because I do want to show you guys what this looks like. And Chris Jones is obviously at the top of the list, right? But then you get a lot of players that are in there that are going to play roles this season in Mike Edwards and Drew Tranquil, Donovan, Clyde. Obviously, we do believe will depart the Kansas City Chiefs. But the next one that's going to be critical is you have a starting specialist. You got to get something done with Tommy, in my opinion. He's going to be 28.
Punter.
Yeah,
I mean
that's legit. We all know about Sneed. Now, for some reason, they have Sneed lower down here because of his draft position. He was pulled in later. But you have guys like Jody Fortson. You have
Mike Dana.
Where'd it go? You have Mike Dana. Mike Dana and Willie Gay and L'Jarius Sneed together as a trio are a much more important trio than most people outside of the Kansas City area understand. So I would say all of those guys, Chris, Tommy, Sneed, are the top 3. Willie, Dana would be the next 2, and I think you got to get and make a serious attempt to get all of them done. That's
Agreed.
my personal.
I'm with you. Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I'd like to see Bush back because he's a good special teams guy, and again, like to have that kind of a last safety out if you need it. He knows the system, he knows what to do, and he showed well when he played last year. So I'd like to see him out there as well.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens, folks. We're going to be back tomorrow. Brenda, thank you. I'm glad you had a good time. Gary,
Brenda,
thank you as always. Everybody give Gary a hand for being our in-house admin. We appreciate you.
Loving
you
it.
guys enjoy your Sunday night. It's going to be hot tomorrow. Be careful if you're going to camp, but be prepared. We'll be back here tomorrow night. You guys have a great day. Thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you then.